let's talk about Ecash. That's pertinent to Bitcoiners right now. Big up to David Chaum, bit of a legend in the digital currency space.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually got to meet him in London a couple of years ago.
Oh, how did that go?
That was good, really interesting. I met a guy who was at a period of reflection, but it was just incredible to be with such a prominent person in the. I would call him a Bitcoiner, really, because even though he worked on projects previous to Bitcoin, obviously he inspired the work. He's cited in the white paper. He nearly created Bitcoin.
Maybe.
He nearly did. And
as far as I know, he doesn't like Bitcoin that much today.
I caught him at a point of self-reflection, and I think his dislike for Bitcoin is probably not disliking Bitcoin. It's more, if there was another Bedford team that came up behind us and were really successful and it was great for the town, I would probably struggle to enjoy it because it wasn't the one I did.
Yeah, maybe. I hope if he knows about Cashu that he would be just proud to see that his ideas are flourishing today. So should we just go into how it all started with him?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so David Chaum is this legendary cryptographer, and he published this paper in 1982. So it's way before anything with Bitcoin. It's actually the first cryptocurrency, like historically speaking, it's the first cryptocurrency invented.
Before you were born?
Way before.
Yeah. I was a little boy. I was just about to start school.
So yeah, and they had this idea, and it was way before also the internet became a thing, really, right? So it was called, making a payment system with blind signatures. And what this basically allows you is to create an electronic cash system that is perfectly private. It is not a decentralized system like Bitcoin is. It is more like how to build a bank. That's the way they thought about it before, because there was no other way thinking about it. How to make a bank that doesn't know who you are, how much you have, and who you're transacting with, which is a completely revolutionary idea. And so that was 1982. And this idea just floated around, I guess, for almost a decade. And then they started this company called Digicash. Digicash is well known for its attempt to bring Ecash to the world, basically.
Well, you say it's well known. Some people here won't realize the history of the project or why it failed. So maybe you should tell a little bit.
Yeah, so I think Digicash itself, it had a couple of products. I think the most successful one was toll booths. So, you would have some kind of a card that you could use to drive through the toll booth and just pay anonymously. So that was the idea. I think that was also the cash cow for the company. But there were many other business opportunities for Digicash. For example, like the stories are crazy. Microsoft approached them to ask, they wanted to put an Ecash wallet into every Windows 95 copy. Just imagine that.
Yeah.
That was before credit cards on the internet took off. That was before PayPal was there. It was, they almost put it into every home computer on the planet.
Just a bit before every home Mac had a copy of the Bitcoin white paper put on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bit before that. Yeah, exactly. So, but that deal never went anywhere. So probably, and that's when you start researching it, it's because David Chaum then just changed the terms of the contract and wanted more than Microsoft was able to give. That was Microsoft. Visa also approached him or them and wanted to build it into their payment system to make a completely anonymous payment system, probably an alternative to paying with credit cards today on the internet. Also didn't go anywhere. So these are just two examples, and there are a couple more where Ecash could have become a de facto standard of how we pay on the internet before any of these payment processors even came about. But it didn't happen. Probably, and that's again, when you start researching it, it's about David Chaum not really agreeing to the terms of these companies. So And then PayPal comes, credit cards come. Now we have them, and it's a total shit show. Everyone knows exactly what you're doing. You can be censored. Your accounts are being closed at a whim. And your credit cards are insanely bad. You basically enter your private keys every time you make a transaction into a website. Just imagine that. You give the website the ability to take all your money just for making a $150 payment or something. So the state of payments on the internet is absolutely bad. And then nothing happened. We just have these legacy payment rails. Ecash is dead for 20, 30 years. No one cares about it until Bitcoin comes about. And with Bitcoin, I think it kind of refreshed the interest for going back, looking at these technologies.
Yeah, and David Chaum was and is a huge advocate of privacy. Always discussed how it's one of the fundamental pillars of democracy. Without privacy, you don't have democracy. Mm-hmm. And Bitcoin has a interesting privacy story in that if you're smart enough, if you're Calle or you're Matt Odell, you probably, Max Hillerbrand, you understand privacy, you understand the mistakes you can make. But I would say for 99% of Bitcoiners, they're going to make a mistake and they're going to give up their privacy. And I think real privacy will come to Bitcoin when it's taken out the hands of the user to actually figure it out. It just comes inherently. And so my understanding of Ecash is that it kind of does a lot of that for you.
Yeah, so big disclaimer here, because I don't want anyone to confuse this. Ecash is a custodial system. So it's a way to make custodial apps like Wallet of Satoshi. And let's take Wallet of Satoshi for the example, because everyone knows what it is. To make something like Wallet of Satoshi in a way that it doesn't know what you're doing with all these privacy benefits. So it is, it could be as easy as using Wallet of Satoshi, but you don't hold your Bitcoin. But I agree with you. I think privacy can only win if it happens on a very, very large scale. That's basically, the requirement for privacy is that your anonymity set is large enough. And as long as it is so easy to fuck up your privacy in Bitcoin, it's not really, useful for everyday folks. I think this is very important, actually. And also the reason why I'm working on this is to make it kind of a default. Yeah.
There's been a lot of criticism recently for the state of custodial wallets within Lightning, in that the majority of people are using custodial wallets, especially something like Nostra. People are using something like the Wallet of Satoshi. I used to use Blue Wallet. I have a range of wallets I use now, but custodial solutions are a lot easier than running your own Lightning node. Significantly easier, significantly less friction. Is that something we should be worried about? And I'm going to tee that up by saying I don't worry about it, because the vast majority of my Bitcoin is base chain Bitcoin. I keep a very small amount in a custodial Lightning wallet, an amount where if I lost it, it'd be annoying, but I wouldn't care. A bit like if I lose my money on my cash in my pocket on a night out, it's annoying, but it's not going to significantly change my life. How do you feel about the whole custodial versus non-custodial?
I see it very similarly. So no one should store their wealth in a custodial service. You just, we should work all together to explain it to everyone that Wallet of Satoshi is not your real Bitcoin. You don't hold the keys, you can lose it. And the value proposition of Bitcoin itself, that you're the sole owner of your Bitcoin, you have full control and sovereignty. Absolutely. But still, I agree with you that custodial services it's de facto, it's being used not because people are stupid, but because it gives them some certain value that other wallets cannot give them. So, for example, Lightning Address. Lightning Address is a typical example that is supported by many, many custodial wallets, but not so much by non-custodial ones. Getting tips on Twitter, just on Nostr. You cannot, you would have to run your own server somewhere in your basement to be able to receive tips while you're, offline, basically. And that's why custodial services are used. Now, the way I approach this, it could be formulated as a problem. The way I approach this is a reality. The most used Lightning wallet today is Wallet of Satoshi. Now, what I'm proposing with Cashu or with Ecash generally is to just improve the privacy of these users that already opted in for something like that. And they can have their reasons why they want to use it. I don't want to judge that. But if they do, and if we have a way to improve their privacy without any, decrementing their user experience, then we should do it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's talk about Ecash. Explain to me what Ecash is and how it works, and where is it within the Bitcoin stack?
Yeah. So Ecash is completely separate from Bitcoin. It works very, very differently. I think for Bitcoiners, it's a very alien concept, because what we are used to is we have a blockchain that is somewhere in the ether, and you hold your keys on your wallet. and then you make a transaction, you publish it to this blockchain, and then it gets recorded in the blockchain, right? So Ecash works completely differently. With Ecash, you basically hold not the keys to your money, but the money itself, and is represented as a piece of electronic data. So it is, I told Danny the story yesterday. It is how I imagined Bitcoin to be when I first heard about Bitcoin, wrongly, because it wasn't explained well to me. But when I first heard about Bitcoin, I thought, hey, well, that sounds like a torrent for money. It's a network of computers sharing something. And what I imagined was that you hold kind of the money in your hard drive, and then when you want to pay something, you take a piece of it and send it over a wire, just like you would send someone cash through an envelope, for example. But yeah, I was corrected. That's not how Bitcoin works. Bitcoin is the signing on a blockchain, etc. But that's actually how Ecash works, which is funny because I rediscovered this idea when I rediscovered Ecash. So Ecash is a piece of electronic data that you hold on your device, like your phone, for example, that represents the money. That could be something on your Wallet of Satoshi account, and then you send it through Telegram, through email, through some encrypted channel or whatever, to someone else.